You're in for a scare.
The Goosebumps television series was created by R.L.Stine, based on the book series of the same name, also by R.L.Stine. And the first season of Goosebumps ran from October 27, 1995 to May 17, 1996. Before I continue this review, I would like to wish you a happy Halloween. Now, Goosebumps is a series that I am familiar with. I remembered back in elementary school that I read a few of the books and I thought they were kind of cool. As for the television series, I watched a few episodes but never really followed it. Well, now I can go back and see what I missed now that the entire Goosebumps television series is available for streaming on Netflix, which is kind of cool. Now, looking back at the time that this series came out, I think it's kind of cool that R.L.Stine created a horror series geared towards children. Now, don't let the target audience fool you with Goosebumps, because if you look past the fact that it's a kid's show, there's actually something else that's quite special about the television series, plus the books. The Goosebumps franchise is a prime example of entry-level horror. But if there's one thing about the Goosebumps television series that will get stuck in your head, it's the theme song by Jack Lenz. As for the characters, I'm not going over any of them. Instead, I will go over each episode of the first season of Goosebumps. Before I go over the episodes, I was requested not to show any images or videos of Slappy the Dummy. Now, because of scheduling conflicts before this review and time constraints at the time I'm intending to release this review, I will not be showing any images or video clips for this review. I'm sorry. The Haunted Mask is a decent start to the first season of Goosebumps, and yes, I am wearing a mask as I'm talking about an episode called The Haunted Mask. Go figure. The Cuckoo Clock of Doom is actually my favorite episode of the first season of Goosebumps. Why? I actually like the little surprise they throw at the end. I'm not going to say anything because I'd like you to find out for yourself. The Girl Who Cried Monster is a decent episode when it comes to story, but the one thing I will give it huge props for is the monster in this episode creeped me out. Which is a good thing. Welcome to Camp Nightmare is kind of an unsettling episode when you consider what is going around the main protagonist of the episode. Now, I am not entirely the biggest fan of how this episode is directed, especially when there were a couple characters that were portrayed as bullies, and I'm sorry, the bully aspect of Goosebumps is something I don't think has aged well. Not to mention, there was not one kid character that was like, oh, I feel sorry for that kid. Like, all of them were like laughing at this guy. Now, this is not an episode that does that, but there was an episode earlier, and I believe it was the Cuckoo Clock of Doom, that did this. And I just really did not believe how the direction was played out in that particular moment. But with Welcome to Camp Nightmare, there's a little bit of that again, but it does have a little surprise ending that I really didn't see coming. Phantom of the Auditorium. Okay, I'm not surprised if this particular episode is homaging or paying tribute to Phantom of the Opera. There's totally vibes of that. Perhaps I should frighten away the ghost with a little illumination? Gentlemen, I will review Phantom of the Opera eventually. Maybe before this year ends. Piano Lessons Can Be Murder is an episode that contains some over-the-top acting that I find funny. It's also a bizarre episode as well. Not only does the first season of Goosebumps prove that it has over-the-top acting, Return of the Mummy proves that this show can have some bad acting as well. And the episode was alright. What follows is Night of the Living Dummy 2. which is famous for having one of the more recognizable antagonists in the Goosebumps series, period. Slappy the Dummy. Now, my only complaint with Night of the Living Dummy 2 is that the first book of Night of the Living Dummy was never adapted for television. Now, why 2 and 3 were only adapted for television and not the first, I don't know. Maybe the first Night of the Living Dummy was too scary to put on television. Hell if I know. But I kid you not, Slappy is kind of creepy. The clicking and clacking sounds it makes is kind of eerie to me. And I must praise the direction of this episode for doing just that, because I couldn't believe a children's horror series was able to creep me out a little just by little sounds. Again, it's making eerie sounds on a dummy. Usually I would not find that scary, but for some reason, this show found a way to kind of creep me out on doing that. And if it creeps someone else, then hey, the show is doing its job. So I actually enjoy the direction of Night of the Living Dummy 2. But in my opinion, the creepiest thing about Slappy is that darn cover from the first Night of the Living Dummy book. We shall not speak about that cover. But I can't deny that Slappy is an iconic figure in the Goosebumps franchise, and Night of the Living Dummy 2 is definitely one of my favorite episodes of the first season of Goosebumps. Stay Out of the Basement is an episode that I personally didn't care for because I found it kind of boring. And to make matters worse in regards to this is that it's a 2-part episode, and that really didn't help me much to enjoy it more. But what follows is my least favorite episode of the first season of Goosebumps. It came from beneath the sink. The premise of this episode has to do with a girl finding a sponge under the sink of the new house that she and her parents moved in, and it's a monster. And I don't even like how it ends either. Say Cheese and Die is kind of a messed up title, but the story behind this episode does make up for the title. And this episode in particular is notable for having Ryan Gosling in it. A Night in Terror Tower is a nice change of scenery since the episode was set in England, even though a few characters have a British accent, but whatever. This episode was alright, but the twist that they reveal later felt kind of forced, and I really was not sold on it, so it went from being a good episode to being an alright episode, so yeah. The first season of Goosebumps ends with a 2-part episode, The Werewolf of Fever Swamp. I liked it. Overall, the first season of Goosebumps is a solid run. Now, even though this show does have some campiness, I was able to enjoy the over-the-top acting that this first season had, and of course some of the bad acting that comes with it as well. But as far as children's horror shows go, this is a terrific choice as an entry-level series for children to watch when it comes to the horror genre. Even though I saw little of the show as a kid, I'm actually surprised that this show is actually still watchable after all this time after it ended. I'm going to give the first season of Goosebumps an 8.5. If you like this review, feel free to hit the like button. And if you want to follow my channel, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. And as always, you're welcome to leave me a comment if you feel so inclined. And thank you for watching my review of the first season of Goosebumps. And I will see you in the next review. And happy Halloween!